So in the past, I've done videos on the biggest mistakes when it comes to buying a house. I've done home buying guides. I've done all sorts of videos about how to buy a house and what to do and what not to do. But in today's video, we're going to talk about the 7 most frustrating things that happen when you're buying a house. But before we get into it, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video. And don't forget about our race to 25,000 subscribers. Thank you to the 14,500 of you who have already subscribed. And to those of you who haven't, go ahead, click that subscribe button. It's free, it's easy, it's definitely worth it, and you have to be subscribed to win. We're going to give away $5,000 to one lucky winner to put towards their registered education savings plan, their RRSP, their TFSA, to pay down their mortgage, to pay down other debt, or simply to do with what they like, but you have to be subscribed to win, so go ahead and click that subscribe button. The definitive guide on how to manage your credit, product, penalty, price, in that order. It's never been more important to get your mortgage right. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's discuss the 7 most frustrating things that happen when you are buying a house, because buying a house is one of those things that it is an amazing experience when you finally get to take possession. Yes, when you get those keys. It is one of the most fulfilling experiences that you'll ever go through in your life, outside of things like childbirth and maybe getting a new job and getting married and those types of things. But taking possession of a home is a really big deal, but there's a lot that leads into taking possession of that house. There's all the things that come along with getting a mortgage, selecting a realtor, negotiating with sellers, finding the perfect home, then finding out that the perfect home maybe isn't necessarily the perfect home after you've had a home inspection, and so on and so forth. So today, I want to talk about the 7 most frustrating things and how you can minimize the frustration. So let's get into it, and let's start with frustration number 1. This has to do with that pre-approval process and getting that mortgage. Obviously, filling out the application is never a fun experience, but most people don't realize how many documents are required in order to get a mortgage. So things like job letters, pay stubs if you're employed, down payment documents, usually 90 days history of all the money that you're using for the down payment. And if you've got money that's been bouncing around with multiple accounts, that means 90 days worth of bank statements from multiple accounts. Then if you are self-employed, you need your NOAs, you need your T1 generals, you need sometimes your corporate financials. There is a lot of documentation that's required. And the key thing here is making sure that when you go to get your mortgage, that you deal with somebody who asks for all this documentation up front. Because when they ask for it during the pre-approval process, yes, it's tedious, but you have time to do it. When you actually go to write an offer for a property, if you haven't already got all your documentation in, it can become one of the most stressful weeks ever when you've got that 7 to 10 day financing condition in order to actually get those documents and you haven't started the process yet. So big thing here is try not to get a pre-approval from somebody who doesn't ask for all of these documents up front, and make sure that you get them as much information as quickly as possible. Doing as much as you can early on makes the process way easier down the road. If done right, collecting documents can be something that is not that frustrating, but if done wrong, it can be a very serious pain point in the home buying process. Now, the second most frustrating piece of buying a property is choosing a realtor. Now, this can be super easy. It can be super difficult. It all depends on if you know a realtor yourself. And if you don't, there's some things that we recommend when it comes to choosing a realtor. First of all, don't go online and choose best realtor or search for best realtor in whatever city you're in, because basically what you're going to get is the realtor who is best at search engine optimization or the best at online marketing. No, here's what you want to do when you're selecting your realtor. You want to go to the people that you know that have bought a house recently, find out who they used and ask them about their specific experiences with that specific realtor. And then what you want to do is you want to go and blind reference check that realtor. So one thing that we did recently ourselves with a mortgage broker that we were looking at hiring, we put up on Facebook that we were looking for blind reference checks on that particular mortgage broker. We obviously, when we put that post up, we made it so that she couldn't see it. And what we said was, if you have positive experiences, put them in the comments below. And if you've had negative experiences and you care to share them, send us a DM. And what that did was it gave people who had had a negative experience with that particular mortgage broker the ability to contact us directly and give us the goods on what they didn't like about that particular mortgage broker. Now, it ends up, because of that exact process, we ended up not hiring that particular mortgage broker because there was some negative feedback. you can do the exact same thing with a realtor. And the key thing here as well is don't go out and put online to your 1,000 fake friends, hey, I'm looking for a realtor, any recommendations? Because everybody has a realtor that they are going to recommend. And if you have people who are loosely associated to you recommending realtors that they are loosely associated with, you just don't know what the quality is going to be like. So go to the people who are close to you, people you work with, friends, family, people you know that have bought and sold recently, ask them for their specific recommendation and then do blind reference checks. And that will make choosing a realtor that much easier. And here's the key thing as well when you're looking to choose a realtor is you want somebody who is going to advocate on your behalf, put your interests before their own, and do the absolute best job possible. So when you are asking for those blind reference checks, when you're asking about people's experience, you want to find out specifically if that realtor was the type of realtor who would put your interests above their own. So in other words, they aren't going to try to sell you a crappy property just to get a paycheck. They're going to make sure that you buy the right property, even if it means they won't necessarily make as much. Third most frustrating thing is going to be scheduling showings. Now, sometimes this goes super smoothly. The realtor just sets up the showings and it is during your time frame and it's super smooth. Sometimes though, it becomes more difficult. Sometimes people don't want to show their houses, especially during the pandemic times. Sometimes there are tenants in the property and you have to give them 24 hours notice in order to view the property. It can be a real headache, especially if there's a specific property that you want to see that is very, very difficult to get into. Now, most of the time, like I said, this isn't going to be a problem, but it can be frustrating. When we bought the house that we are in right now, we wanted to see another house and we tried for a week to get into that property. We ended up not buying it because we quite frankly couldn't get into it. Now, would it have been a better house than the one that we bought? I don't know. But at the end of the day, that realtor, that seller, they wanted to sell the house, but they weren't willing to let people into it, which made it very difficult for them to actually get the house sold if you aren't letting people see it. Now, frustration number 4 is going to be negotiating with sellers. This is probably going to be the most stressful part of the whole situation. And this is where having a really great realtor comes into play. And yeah, there's a lot of people out there who say, oh, you don't need a realtor. You don't need somebody to represent you. I'm going to tell you right now, if you are an NHL hockey player, you don't negotiate with the teams yourself. You have an agent do that. The reason why is because they're very well versed in negotiation. They've practiced negotiation and they do a good job of it. They know what they can ask for. They know what they can't. And they do it so frequently that they're more likely to get that NHL player significantly more money than what that NHL player would get for themselves. Well, a realtor is no different. And a really great realtor will take the frustration out of the process by making it really simple, really easy, and doing everything he can to advocate on your behalf. He or she, I should say. By the way, some of the best realtors out there, in my belief right now, are females. They just have this ability to negotiate and be super aggressive while also being laid back and being tactful. It is absolutely incredible. Some of the best negotiators in the industry that we have seen are women. And it is really cool to see that in an industry that it has predominantly in the past been male dominated. When you're negotiating with the sellers, you want to make sure that you put your best foot forward. Don't go and try and lowball people because that just pisses people off. Really make clear and honest offers. Ones that make sense to the seller, ones that make sense to your realtor, ones that make sense to you, and do everything you can to create a win-win situation while also making sure that you get the best deal and the best terms for you. Frustration number 5 is waiting for your mortgage approval. So you've gone through, you've found a house, you've written an offer, your financing conditions are now in play, and depending on who you chose to help you with your mortgage, waiting for your approval can be very quick and very seamless. For example, last week we did a deal for a client. They put in their application on Monday. We had their approval on Tuesday. It was done. However, we've heard horror stories right now of people waiting 3, 4, 5 weeks for an approval. We have clients who have applied with us recently who are in that situation where they just haven't heard back from their bank. We also know that there are certain lenders that we deal with that are faster than others. So waiting for that approval is something that can be super stressful. And obviously nobody wants to wait 7 to 15 days to hear if the lender is actually going to lend them their money and thinks that they're worthy of the money. So we try to get this done as fast as possible. But This all comes down again to having your documents in up front, making sure that you've been honest and truthful in your application and that everything is as you say it is, and then just being patient. And one of the things, I'll tell you this right now, that we ask clients nowadays is, do you want to go with the lender that has the slightly better product, or maybe has the nicer logo color, or is the bank that you deal with, or do you want to go with the lender that gets you your answer immediately and is going to, for the rest of the time that you have this mortgage, be super easy to deal with and super customer service centric? And a lot of people nowadays are willing to pay 0.05, 0.1, 0.2% more to have a super customer service oriented lender than they would pay to have a mortgage with a big bank. Sixth biggest frustration is dealing with the home inspection and issues. So you found your perfect home, you think it is absolutely awesome, you are so excited, and then you book your home inspection. And by the way, I highly recommend that you always book a home inspection, because a home inspector is going to find those things that you don't see when you walk through, or your realtor doesn't see when you walk through. A home inspector is the thing that is going to save you from $30,000 to $50,000 to $70,000 bill somewhere down the road that you don't expect. So you want to make sure that you are always getting a home inspection, and also know that when you're getting a home inspection, they're going to find things. They'll find things in every single house that aren't 100% perfect or aren't 100% up to snuff. And then what you have to do is you have to take the information they provide you and then decide if you still want to buy the house. And if you do still want to buy the house, if you want to ask the seller to adjust the price or fix certain things in order for you to complete on the deal. Now, this is going to be a frustrating process. Again, a great realtor plays a huge role in this process, and the best realtors out there that we've seen always seem to be able to save people a little bit of money, or a little bit of time, or a little bit of headaches by making sure the home inspection is taken care of and making sure that the property is exactly as it should be when the clients go to take possession. Now, the seventh, and this is obviously the most frustrating thing that's happening in today's market, is competing with other buyers. Because when you're competing with other buyers, you have to pay a little bit more for the house. Maybe you get pressure from your realtor to not put financing conditions on your purchase, which we don't recommend, by the way. We never recommend somebody writing an offer without financing conditions, because one thing you have to remember about financing is that they're looking at two things. They're looking at you, and they're looking at the property. And while you may be pre-approved, the property may not necessarily be something that lenders are willing to lend on. This is particularly true when you're looking at condos and townhouses. There are a lot of condos and townhouses that you can't get mortgage insurance on. So if you're writing a condition-free offer on properties like that, you're putting yourself at risk. And we see this all too regularly where realtors say, you know what, you're pre-approved, you shouldn't have any trouble getting a mortgage. Well, a mortgage isn't guaranteed just because you have a pre-approval, so we don't recommend writing without financing conditions. And when it comes to competing with other buyers, you always want to put your best foot forward, but don't get caught in that psychology of trying to win for the sake of winning and overpaying for a house, because that sucks. And I can tell you unequivocally right now that even when the market is super hot like it is today, 3 to 6 months down the road, it's not going to be in the same position that it is, and you will have opportunities to buy houses in the future without competing with 5, 10, 15, 20 other buyers. And I highly recommend, if you have the ability to wait until the market cools down, so you don't find yourself in a crazy situation where you're writing offers with no conditions and putting yourself at serious financial risk because you may or may not be able to complete on that property. Now, we have one bonus frustration that comes along with buying a house, and that is moving. Moving is something you want to start at the earliest possible opportunity. Start getting rid of the things that you know you don't need so you don't have to take them with you. Then start packing up the things you don't use often as soon as possible. And then create a list of things that you need to move, things you need to do in order to make moving as simple as possible. And if you can afford it, I highly recommend getting professional movers, because they will make the process so much simpler than having to do it with you and your buddies and move every single piece of furniture in and out of your house. That process absolutely sucks. My wife and I, we always think that we're probably going to live in this house for the next 10, 15, 20 years. And the number one reason why is because moving is so ridiculously frustrating that we just don't ever want to do it ever again. So that is the 7 most frustrating things plus the bonus thing that come along with buying a house. I sincerely hope you found this video useful. If you are in the process of purchasing a home, or you're in the process of thinking about purchasing a home, we have a course that we've put together, and part of my why is to make sure as many people get the information that they need in order to buy, sell, and get a mortgage. And as a result, we know that not everybody can come to Mortgage 360 for their mortgage. Maybe you have your own mortgage broker, maybe it's your sister, or your mom, or your dad. Maybe you have your own bank that you want to deal with and you just feel comfortable with them. That's totally fine. But for me, what's important is that everyone gets the same information that a Mortgage 360 client would, because we feel unequivocally that it is some of the best information in the industry. So we've put together a home buyers boot camp that is designed specifically to take you from start to finish in the process of purchasing a home. We've priced this course so low that anybody who is thinking about purchasing a home can absolutely afford to take that course. It is priced very, very, very cheaply, and we guarantee you'll get 10 to 50 times your money back just by taking that course. And we've guaranteed it by putting a special offer from Mortgage 360 in it that will guarantee that you get at least 10 times your money back. So if you're interested in joining us on that journey, go ahead. There's a link in the description below. And if you found this video useful, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video. And don't forget about our race to 25,000 subscribers. I sincerely hope you, yes you, the person that watched to the very end of the video, I appreciate that as well. I sincerely hope that you'll be the winner. We'll see you on the next video. Cheers.